Scoliosis is an horizontal plane deformity, always ending in 3D, no matter the age. Why it is not understood? Because the horizontal plane, transversal plane is not so easy to address. And what is the horizontal plane for a spinal deformity? It is not the view given by a CT scan. It's the 3D reconstruction of the entire spine seen from the top, as you can see here. As well, the projection of the horizontal plane of the 3D piling up of the successive vertebral unit from feet to head along the gravity line. This comes from the cone of economic concept. And you see very well between pre-op and post-op what I mean by the horizontal plane projection of the entire spine. Despite this was very well already explained in 16th century from Ambroise Paré, but still the Adams book, 1865, and when you see on the bottom the drawing of Adams 1865 and the modern X-ray, you see not very big difference. And you see between the 16-year-old and 9-year-old patient, you see where that the rotatory dislocation junctional was already there, horizontal plane is there. And in 1877, Louis Sayre did the scoliosis modeling with elastic band attached to the frame both sides. And when he was pushing on the flexible brass rod, you see that the horizontal force were creating torsional effect and scoliosis, as you can see here. Before the era of X-ray, everybody was thinking in 3 dimensions. And with the era of the X-ray, 3D start to be forgotten because X-ray are shadow of a human being built in the 3 dimension. Before the computer era, many people like Shaw, Adams, Somerville, Pierre Stagnara with the plan d'élection, René Perdriol with this torsiometer, horizontal plane is there. When I demonstrate that X-ray was only shadow of the 3D reality, when I demonstrate the pelvic vertebra concept on this drawing that you can see 72, the horizontal plane was still there. And with the computer era, we try to do 3D scoliosis reconstruction from 2 orthogonal standing X-ray with a simplified model of the vertebra. You see very well that the horizontal piling up of the vertebra with the view from the top was quite evident. So scoliosis, you have 2 major 3D parameters is a torsion. A typical horizontal plane deformity for each horizontal plane, 3 displacement, axial rotation, lateral, translation right or left, and sagittal, translation anterior or posterior, kyphosis, or lordosis here. I present this work at the Chicago SRS meeting in 1980, but it was not understood. So it was clear, for example, for infantile scoliosis between 0 and 3-year-old, spontaneously resolving, you see the view from the top. Progressive benign, when you have a typical view, when you can predict that this will not progress, and progressive malignant. More later, in 1975, I present the crankshaft phenomenon. You see this patient that I did surgery when he was 6-year-old, 1.5 years after fusion, you see the aspect. But when he was 12-year-old, 8 years later, you see, and when he was 34-year-old, when you look from the view from the top, you see very well that the continuing anterior growth has distorted the spine exactly in the horizontal plane. So scoliosis, you have two different entities. One is developmental, ascending, started with childhood, worsening torsion with growth, secondary to genetic, neuromuscular, etc. And when you look seen from the top, the horizontal plane concern is evident when you see this from the top. For the other cases, for the scoliosis appeared, developed only in adulthood, that we call de novo. You see, the spine was straight, even adult, you see. And this degeneration, because gravity and torsion give a kyphorotatory collapse, discogenic cascade that I call descending deformity, the starter is the horizontal plane failure. So mechanism of kyphoscoliosis, when you have at the same projection of the apex and lateral, you have the that I call paradoxical hyperrotatory kyphosis, exactly the same drawing that show in 1925. But when you have a different projection, when the apex is different on the AP and lateral, you have a junctional kyphosis and a real kyphosis. And you see on this patient that was treated that did the pass by 2 Harrington rod, you see very well that the junction was the apex of the kyphosis. So when you have a pure Scheuermann kyphosis, anterior column is shorter than the posterior. But when you have a kyphoscoliosis, the anterior column is longer than the posterior one. This is an evident demonstration that scoliosis is an horizontal plane deformity. When you have this aspect, when you have an opposite direction of the discal opening above and below the vertebra, and you see here between 16-year-old and 39-year-old on the same patient, when you have this opening of this space exactly opposite that direction of the axial rotation, you have the scissoring and dislocation of because of the gravity, and the unstable vertebra in between is unstable. So a scoliotic spine is a succession of torsion and counter torsion, where the first step is a failure on the horizontal plane. The CT scan was a major advance for 2D. For example, 3D reconstruction for CT, but you need multiple slices, and the patient is laying down. Radiation down, you see 43 millisieverts, not acceptable for a child. So when we develop AOS imaging, when with 2 simultaneous X-ray with low dose radiation, you see that we get reconstruction of the time with a very low dose radiation. It was the EOS imaging procedure. And when you have this model from EOS imaging, and when you have on model without any intervertebral rotation, when you do compression, no scoliosis. As soon as you have intervertebral rotation, when compression is done, scoliosis, it's clear, and this was demonstrated by Xavier Dorel, Juan Lafont in the Arts et Métiers in Paris in 2006. So 3D spine reconstruction was a major reason to create the EOS imaging system, especially to address the horizontal plane, because it's done in a functional standing posture. When you have this unique view of the skeleton, this gives you an excellent 3D study of the alignment here. And you see here, when you analyze the joint in a standing position, you see very well the horizontal plane is evident. So it is a new way to analyze the spinal organ. from reference to the gravity axis projection, we must learn and read and work on this picture because we can say left, frontal imbalance, sagittal imbalance. Each vertebra can be used separately. Simultaneously, in Montreal, Carl Eric Aubin study group of the SRS try to obtain with a maximum of deformity based on the plane of maximum deformity, try to demonstrate this possibility of the 3D reconstruction. You can see here very well that this view from the top, from the maximum plane of maximum curvature, is not so friendly either, neither in the visual excitation. So to simplify, analyze, and quantify with the EOS textology the horizontal plane, Thomas, one of my past residents, designed the vertebral vector. You see that for each vertebra, he designed one vertebral vector. You see the normal spine, you see the right thoracic scoliosis, and you see post-op how we are the view. Clearly horizontal plane. In one glance, you see, for example, pre-op and post-op, you see that the correction of the lateral translation is more important than the correction of the axial rotation. You see this in only one glance, one shot. So when Larry Lenke, when we take the 301 case of Larry Lenke group, when we see this 301 case of Lenke group, we can subdivide in two groups, and in three groups, and you see that we have already the lumbar modifier, the sagittal modifier. We need the horizontal plane modifier. Look on this aspect. You see the creation and the progression of a kyphoscoliosis. When you see the importance of the horizontal plane. And on this one, for example, you see also how this torsion in the horizontal plane occur to create the scoliosis deformity. And you see here the same thing with the vector, and you see how on the sagittal view, on frontal view, and on the horizontal view, the deformity develop. So we have landmarks. If we take landmarks for the vertebral vector in the view from the top, you see clearly the area of the cone of economy where the spine must be inserted post-op. And the vertebral vector to check the view from the top, it's evident. And you see here how we have obtained post-operatively a correction, but not perfect. You see here, it is not completely perfect. So if we look on multiple cases here, you see that we can put the cases in the area of cone of economy. A, B, it's good. When it is C, D, E, it's out of the cone, so it will be a very incomplete result. For example, this degenerative scoliosis with L3, L2, L3, 4 dislocation, you see how we progress with the kyphosis and the translation on the horizontal plane. When we had work in ENSAM at the School of Biomechanics in Paris, we try to define the severity index. That is looking especially about the torsion index, the Cobb angle, and the intervertebral rotation, superior and inferior. If we have a severity index below 0.4, it will be a stable case, will not progress. When it is over 0.6, it will be a progressive one. And this you see very well here for this mild curve at the first exam, when you compare two curves with 10-degree Cobb angle between A and B, when you have the reconstruction with EOS imaging, you see very clearly that the view from the top will demonstrate the case as progressive with the same 10-degree Cobb angle. Importance of this horizontal plane. And this was validated on more than 135 patients. The calculation is quasi-automatic from this. So that it was proven that non-operative treatment with cast and brace give generally at the end of the treatment the Cobb angle identical to the start one. So the proposed strategy for the mild idiopathic curve, when you have a mild curve between 10 and 15-degree Cobb, classify progressive with severity and depth. If we do corrective or hypercorrective night brace, trying to obtain complete detorsion, it will be the way. So when you have the dogma based on the unique Cobb, it failed. For example, you see, you have in this case Cobb angle 12, research 1 and 2. If you look to SRS criteria, you say no treatment. Why? SRS say, wait for progression. No, if you look precisely, you see that the shadow of the soft tissue are very clear, and the progression was 25 when he reached research 4.5, and the criteria say no treatment. Why is no treatment? Because we know maturation sign on the bone, but soft tissue, capsule, ligament, we know almost nothing about that. It is the same here. You see the severity index was 0.9, so it was progressive. And you see, so when you look more precisely, you see that the rotatory dislocation is there. Why? What do we know about the maturation of the soft tissue? We know very little about that. And the rotatory dislocation and instability is already. So the dogma of the angle ignore completely the transversal plane. And why no treatment? It is really a mistake. Because I show you again this case, when you have this unstable vertebra between opposite side of the lateral disc stretch above and below, the vertebra in between is unstable, and you see that on this patient, the change between between 55 and 76, you see the shearing and the dislocation occurs. So horizontal plane is very important. And one of my residents in 1985, I say, you see, I want to brace the lumbar scoliosis after research 3 and 4. And he did that, and he demonstrated that 5-degree correction maintained And recently, Japanese people have confirmed that even after research 3 and 4, if we treat them, we can improve because we treat the soft tissue. Horizontal plane gives a smooth adaptation of the skeleton, very poorly documented by the orthopedic surgeon, better understood by the orthesis and prosthesis people. And you have multiple reference from the gravity axis. We have the axial rotation, the sagittal displacement, the lateral displacement. So we must analyze this horizontal plane permanently. To convince you about the importance of this, I define in the past that I call the spinal penetration index. That is the importance of the penetration inside the chest of the skeleton of the spine. So I describe 4 types of humps. The one is the endothoracic, protrusion of the vertebral body inside the chest. I design the exothoracic, of course, the classical, convex, bulging in addition. And also, when you have anterolateral thoracic protrusion from the vertebral body, when you have an important axial rotation. We did 3-cage reconstruction thanks to EOS imaging, and we compare the CT scan reconstruction. It was a very close accuracy. And the spinal penetration index, you see very well that I mean the invasion of the thoracic area by the skeleton of the spine. And the view from the top helps to control the consequence. For example, on this case, he was treated with a brace, and that without the brace, you see the horizontal plane, and you see that the brace put the spine a little bit straighter, but squash the thoracic cage. So it was very bad for the thoracic function, of course. Aurélien Courvoisier did a thesis in some institute in Paris, and you see that he compared the skeleton of the spine and the skeleton of the chest with and without brace. And you see here clear flattening. In the first case, good balance, but in the second, imbalance was there, but the flattening was there. And in the last case, as you see on your right, no change, an increased imbalance. So your brace was very ineffective. So Gérald Donny, a brace maker, designed the 3D brace. And you see that this brace creates axial corrective force, horizontal plane, always mechanically induced with the respiratory function of the patient. You see first exam, progression, inside the brace, much better. And if you look to this patient, you see this brace, when the patient breathes, the corrective forces, thanks to proper modeling of the carbon support, as to create a 3D, and you see much better from the top. When you see that the lordosis, this is the lordosis, with breathing, it's corrected. This is the 3D brace principle. So human standing, alignment and balance are very important. EOS imaging give an excellent application. You see the alignment, but alignment is static and balance is dynamic. All the movements of the body are able to maintain the line of gravity within the center of the polygon of support. And Isidore Lieberman in Dallas and other colleagues try to measure, quantify this cone of economy. And you see here, in comparison with the EMG for scoliosis, and he demonstrates maximum gluteus maximum work, and they are always most sagittal disorder, explaining why this horizontal plane is important. So the vision of the horizontal plane start to be considered in the spinal world, and published in European Spine Journal, a method to quantify this cone of economy by Isidore Lieberman, and Kazuhiro Hasegawa from Niigata, Japan, study also the alignment of the whole body, evaluation with the view from the top. And you see here, for example, before and after the surgery, where you have the projection on the floor, as well of the head, as the feet, the knee, and very useful and reliable. For example, the 67-year-old degenerative lumbar kyphoscoliosis, when you see here, coronal, sagittal, and the view from the top. And when you have the total view from the top, pre-op, you see the projection of the head, very clear. You see the projection of the gravity center, the projection of the feet, the projection of the hips, the projection of the knee, the projection of the angle, and the center of the central base that is very far away from a good alignment. And when you see pre-op and post-op, the difference of the horizontal plane is clear. And you see now how everything was concentrated close to the gravity line. So this it's really something very clear about the importance of the horizontal plane in scoliosis. And you see here 2 weeks post-op how this was realigned correctly. So whole body spine projection on the horizontal plane, and the vertebral vector, as I try to show you, will become the new 3D reference for the spinal deformity. And the conclusion is the 3D aspect of the spinal deformity is still a challenge. Larry Lenke vision and classification was a major step for 2D analysis and treatment. But the global top view and the vertebral vector introduce friendly user horizontal plane vision in the 3D evaluation. It must be a complementary to reach a real 3D evaluation. So the last message for the young researcher, everything remains to be done. Shadows are multiple, new horizons are numerous and infinite. And like say my teacher, Pierre Conot, seek after, and you will find it. Thank you. Et voilà.